Welcome to From Hero to Human.
From Hero to Human brings you expert recommendations,
Feminine is considered to be flow. And even when you think of that, you already think of like this.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah. They speak to other people. If you can't speak to the men, speak to someone, at least, just to get it out. But I do believe that men need brotherhood. Not necessarily my brotherhood, but just brothers, people around you that you can trust, that you can speak openly with. And when those men arrived, and I told them I was just about to quit, they said, "Don't you dare. We're here now."
Adil, hi you beautiful human.
Oh,
Welcome to our podcast. Welcome to From Hero to Human, your safe space to have a real, raw and authentic conversation about mental health in healthcare and beyond. Here we challenge the hero narrative, because let's be real, it is not sustainable to run on empty all the time. Instead, let's embrace what it truly means to be a human, flawed, resilient, and deserving of rest. Because as humans, we have limits, and that's okay. In here, we don't hand out prescriptions, we offer choice. Because with choice comes change, and with change comes a better outcome. So let's break the silence, let's rewrite the narrative, and let us have a real human connection so we can cultivate that positive change in our communities.
I hear you and I'm with you all the way. From Hero to Human brings you expert recommendations to help you navigate solutions for stress, burnout, and mental health so that you can thrive in this fast-paced, AI-driven era. And when we say expert, we really mean expert. And today we have an amazing guest. I am so excited, but I'm going to let Magda introduce him.
Adil,
hi.
hi you beautiful human.
Oh,
Welcome to our podcast.
thank you very much.
We've met before. Our viewers, some of them might not know you, so I'm going to give a professional intro.
Please.
Adil is a visionary leader. And when I say a visionary leader, I truly believe and I really stand for what I say. We've met before. We had some really powerful conversations and you have inspired me and Nina on many levels. So thank you for this. Adil is a visionary leader redefining masculinity and building a powerful movement for men's mental health, but also emotional and physical well-being. He is a founder of Brotherhood UAE, a thriving community where men can connect, grow, and support one another in a judgment-free environment.
Yep.
Adil, you are also an entrepreneur, a speaker, a podcaster, and you've been featured on many amazing platforms,
Yep.
Chris Fate, Dubai Eye, and we are obviously very grateful that you have chosen us and sharing your time and energy and positive vibration on this platform so we can create more awareness.
Yeah.
We can perhaps spark some more innovation in the ways how we think, how we perceive masculinity, and how we can join together. Because masculinity is not only about men,
No.
feminine is not only about female. So I'm gonna close the intro here, and I want to ask you, who are you as a human?
I'm someone who has always liked helping people, always. And I was always that friend that people would come and talk to and ask advice from, or at least have that shoulder where they could either release or, that was always me. And growing up, I was also a little bit chubby and, I was kind of everyone's like teddy bear. So I was the cuddly one. My nickname at school was Huggy Bear. That's how much, And even so, I qualified as a PT because I thought that what it is that I wanted to do was to help people transform. I was always that guy on my social media with the camera up here, giving motivational speeches long before the work that I'm doing here. But I guess it turns out that there was more work to be done in this space of helping other people. So I'd say definitely a helper. As a human, I'm also flawed. There's so many things that I've had to work through over the years, things that I couldn't see. things that as soon as I did see them, it was my responsibility to do something about it, no matter how triggering it was or challenging. And I've spoken about this at length on stage and on TV. I've got no shame in admitting some of the things that I've been through. The truth is, life is hard, you know, and if you don't know what to do with the problems that you're facing, then it can just become a spiraling pit. So that's why I wanted to create something so I can just give people a voice. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
So I find that even in my family, I always try to be that voice of reason. I'm the peacekeeper. Typically, I'm not the person that gets involved in family politics. I'm the one that's trying to navigate everything. But I'm also the black sheep of the family, I would say, a little bit. I think anyone that moves away from their home country to another country, typically seen of it as a bit different. You know, why didn't you just get a job? Why didn't you just stay? Why didn't you settle down and have a family? What's wrong with London? Which is ironic because my family left their home countries to be in London for a better family, for a better life. I'm doing the same thing. So, yeah.
I'm fascinated by the way you have presented yourself and the work that you have done for two reasons. One, because I feel that men need people like yourself, experts who actually help them, coach them, and bring them out of whatever they're feeling. And two, because I have two brothers and I have a son, and I really want to understand more how they function, you know? And I see in brotherhood, the mission that you focused on is to create a community where men grow and they improve in their well-being. I want you to tell us a little bit more about brotherhood and how fascinating and amazing of a movement it is here in the UAE.
It's something I'm so proud of. Like, I really am. And it didn't start off with this vision of it was going to be some huge movement. I just wanted to get men to talk. Because if I rewind 5 years ago, I went through such a hard time, like a very difficult time. I was kicked out of my family home, dealing with some very difficult family dynamics that were outside of my control. I was going through a breakup with my girlfriend. She found out that I cheated on her, and that was incredibly challenging. And instead of really facing it, I ran away from everything. I went to Morocco, went on a retreat, and I met a Reiki healer. And this healer, I didn't even know what Reiki was at the time, but she revealed to me some insights. And on this journey of insights during this 3-hour Reiki session, I realized that I kept so much suppressed, so many emotions, so many thoughts and feelings. I was so much of a nice guy, but I wasn't a good man. And because I wasn't able to articulate myself about how I felt and keeping things inside, I would typically explode or implode. Explosion would be anger bursts typically in front of my family or my girlfriend at the time. Embarrassing things that I did. One thing always stands out to me is when I threw a shoe rack down the stairs. Unnecessary rage for no reason. And the reason was my sister just saw through my truth, or what I thought was the truth, and called me out on it. So by calling me out, I couldn't face my truth, and so I got angry. And that's because I had so much inside. But when I went on this retreat, I realized that there was a lot of love that I didn't feel growing up, or at least I didn't think it was there from my mum, which was, back then I could relate my behavior with women with my relationship with my mum. And before that, I had no clue, but it was that insight right there. The lady didn't even say anything. I made that connection. And I realized why. I was just looking for love all the time, looking for attention, affection from every woman. And it was about time something changed. As soon as I had that awareness, I realized that I need to do something about this now. I also realized that because I hadn't spoken up so much, much of what I felt could have been dealt with by just speaking. So in that moment, I decided that I'm going to help men talk. That's it. Just help men talk. And I also realized that my mum did her best. No matter what happened throughout the years, she did her best. And the only way to really get the love that you want is to be more loving. So I left Morocco. I didn't speak to my mum for 6 months. I broke up with my girlfriend because I still couldn't handle the situation. And I sought therapy. I started working with a masculinity coach. And I joined an online men's circle. Now, this is when I think the pandemic hadn't really started yet. And working with the men's coach really pushed me because he got me doing something called shadow work, where he got me to really look at the dark side of myself, not to minimize it or to shame it, but to bring it to the surface and shine a light on it. That's what shadow work is. It's shining a light on the darkness and finding a way to integrate your shadow into who you are, which I think is brilliant. Sounds weird, and I didn't understand it at the time, but now I really, really do. And the other thing is that when I joined this men's circle, it was so confronting. It was 2-hour call online every Wednesday evening, and every time before the call, I just was so scared to go, because the coach would just really get us to open up and share, and it was scary to do it in front of men. I'm very used to talking to women. I was the confidant, they can come to me, I go to them, it's comfortable, it's safe. But men, no. In London, you can't look at a man in the eye. You're just going to think you've got a problem with him. And typically, especially with my friends, we didn't share things. We go to the pub, we have a drink, that's about it. You know, we don't really get too deep. So having to do that with these 8 other men on a call was really confronting, but I always felt so amazing afterwards. And it was in that moment there I realized, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a men's circle. And so the original movement in the UK was called Not Just a Man, because they felt like we're not just men, there's more to us. Wow. And then fast forward, I came to Dubai, and I thought, let me just get these men to meet in the park or something, have some karak. So every Tuesday we'll sit in a park, and no one came. No one, for a long time. And every time I would try and put it on meetup.com and think I might get 1 or 2 people interested, no one would show. It got to the point where I thought, I don't want to go anymore. You know, and for a good year, 2 years, I was toing and throwing, battling. I was struggling to make money in the UAE, as I also setting myself up as a coach. It was tough. But I realized that I had to keep going for a few reasons. One, I knew that this was the right thing to do. And whenever someone did understand and hear about it, they thought, wow, this is amazing. I said, but why is it not happening? And I also realized that if I went home, I'd feel really disappointed in myself. As you know, my job before was in procurement for the health sector, which is obviously also the synergy here. Not the most exciting role. Not what I was destined to do. I was good at it because I studied it and I was there for 10 years. But not really what my strength was. I couldn't go back to that. And so speaking now to you as an entrepreneur, I knew that I would have a fantastic story to tell when I get out of the other side of this. So moving around from like this person's couch, this person's home, month to month, and YouTube will know as well that I just got my Ajari, which after 4 years of not being able to put a deposit down. For the listeners that don't understand what that is, it's a tenancy contract. So I have my very first tenancy contract, which means there's stability in my life now, there's money flowing, coaching is going well, everything. And these are the things that people don't really talk about. It's the struggle of setting something like this up. I don't have another job. So I wanted to really focus on the coaching and the men's group. The other thing that came up, just being honest, is that I still struggled with my ego during the beginning phase. I came here to be in a relationship with someone which broke down very, very quickly. So I felt lonely, afraid. I didn't know who I was in Dubai. I had no money, I had no friends, I had no family. I had all the things that prop a man up in society were taken from me. Mm-hmm. Or at least I chose to leave them. In London, I was the guy. I knew who I was, I had money flowing, I had stocks, I had shares, I had crypto, I had everything. But when I came to Dubai, I had to sell it all. And I had to start again from the beginning. So it really got me wondering, who the hell am I? Who am I as a man now? You know, it affected my relationships, it affected my relationship with myself. And I noticed, only looking back now, that I was still trying to get attention. You know, if you look back at my social media, if you go back a couple of years, I'm topless quite a bit, you know. I started attracting a lot of women who were interested in my work as a men's coach and put me on a pedestal, which I also enjoyed. You know, that's a shadow that exists within me, is that desire still to be loved and liked. And thankfully, I did have a couple of friends around me that said, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're meant to be a men's coach and you're meant to be focusing on brothers and brotherhood. Why are you doing a dating workshop? Which I did, and it was very successful. But when I made that shift and finally understood that I need to stop doing this and just focus on the men, that immediate shift, also with me giving one last attempt, because I almost did give up on Brotherhood UAE. I did one last barbecue in the desert. I stopped doing all the stuff with women, and 40 guys showed up.
Wow.
So that was just a confirmation from the universe, from God, to say, right, finally you saw yourself, you dealt with it, and now here's the reward, or at least, or the kickstart. And when those men arrived, and I told them I was just about to quit, they said, "Don't you dare! we're here now. And now we're, from those 40 original guys, we're now at 120 something plus men, with an average of 40, 50 showing up every week for the Man Cave, which is our kind of a men's circle, and growing. And it's an official business. So that's a little introduction to that.
Yeah, what I hear is a story of Adil,
Yeah.
who was able to turn pain into power.
Yeah.
Not only you were able to help yourself, but also now you are creating that positive ripple change in the community. How you got there, what I hear is curiosity. You were seeking. Even though you were angry, you were throwing that rag, you were still perhaps not happy with what was happening.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot of synergy, because when we invite our guests on the podcast, that there needs to be a synergetic match. It's not only what we talk about, what is our mission, but how we show up in this world, how authentic we are.
Yeah.
And we know that the word authentic is very fluffy, and you
Yes.
know, you can either strip off and show topless photos to females online, or you can really try to do something that is influencing people to think differently, to do things differently, but also to show up in a different way. So we have a lot of synergies. I mean, Nina and myself, we started a Thriving Together platform for healthcare professionals and beyond. We started with a big, bold vision. Again, there is a lot of synergies, right? Whoa, everyone is going to follow us. We're going to create a community. Of course, nothing happens overnight.
No.
There is a struggle, and the struggle is real.
Yeah.
2024 for me was the worst year of my life. But what people saw on social media, Magda, you are so successful, we see you, you're going to all these events, oh my God, you are so amazing. And then I started thinking about what I put on my social media feed. All the photos are happy faces. I'm going to events, I'm meeting people. Where is the real life story?
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, Adil, when you mentioned about the shadowing, and it reminds me of what Gabor Mate wrote in his book, The Myth of Normal. And he stated that our identity is an outcome of the family and outward. And the family becomes a psychic agent for the society, so that it creates that social character that we present, that you were talking about. And this social character has to fit in a mold, which is the normal mold, not the real individual character, which is the real you coming out after seeing all these things happening. And some people live within that social character all their lives. So the example is very clear in the book, where he said that this guy stayed for 70 years being super successful, but he felt like a total loser. He felt like a fraud because it wasn't him. He was just projecting a persona, an image. And what does that do to you? It drains you. It affects your mental health, and it rips you from the reality of who you truly are. And I think this is true, especially for men, because the society has created, or has always put out there, that men have to man up, they have to take care of the household. Their status is defined by what they can bring economically into the homes, what they own, and it doesn't really look at the human of men. And that's how their mental health becomes really affected.
Yeah.
And for me now, I'm raising this 7-year-old boy, and I am freaking out that I don't want to make mistakes. I know I'm going to make mistakes, but at least I have to have the tools to use so that I can raise a healed, grown, decent individual to be outside in the society. So having said that, what are some tips that you can suggest for men for their mental health and well-being?
Take time to sit in silence. A lot often we distract ourselves. We numb any emotion we might feel, and we try to move the emotion as quickly as possible, or just say, no, I don't feel that. I want to do something else. Very rarely do we sit in silence and sit with the emotion. How are we feeling? And talking about it or writing it down. If we don't want to talk, then at least write down something. Developing a healthy relationship with yourself like the actual self, the one where you close your eyes at nighttime. That's, for me, when I think about the self, that's the myself.
Yeah.
So you can understand you better. If you can understand you better, you can help other people understand you. Men are often misunderstood, but it's because they don't know who they are themselves. You know, and because, like you rightly said, most men are just trying to fit into a persona so that they will be accepted by the rest of the world. By whatever stereotype is given to them. Be the man of the house, man up, be the provider, be strong, be stoic, get on with it. You know, these all exist. And they do fit into gender roles, and they do come from somewhere. You know, if you look back anthropologically, they had to be a particular type of way in order to survive.
Yeah.
We don't live in that way anymore. We don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's causing so much pain to these guys out there. And now that I run this men's circle and I hear these men speak their truth, and there's some painful things that they're talking about, and they think they're going through it alone. So the next thing I would say is speak to other people. If you can't speak to the men, speak to someone, at least just to get it out. But I do believe that men need brotherhood. Not necessarily my brotherhood, but just brothers, people around you that you can trust, that you can speak openly with, but also men that will hold you accountable. You know? Often men feel like anxiety or imposter syndrome, and they don't know if they can be their true self, so they keep wearing that mask. But at some point you have to just take the risk, take the mask off, and just be yourself, whatever that self looks like, even if you're not sure and it's messy, and be comfortable with whatever consequence comes next. You know, the nice guy, for example, is the guy that can't set boundaries and will just be pleasant to everyone just so that he's liked. That was me for so many years. And that's why I was also very angry and upset and frustrated. And you think, do they really like me, or do they like the person that I'm putting out there?
Yeah.
So men feel like they're alone and no one cares. You know? Unless, like you said, unless they provide something or they are someone. The loneliness epidemic for men is huge. And the number one reason men join Brotherhood UAE is loneliness. They just don't have anyone to talk to. And I see it and I feel bad. So I'm the first point of contact. So sometimes they message me and I think, I can't meet everyone for coffee. I can't. And some of the guys have no money, and then people are struggling here, and there's too much. We need help. That's just the truth. We need help. Ask for help. That's another thing that men can do. Ask for help. And for other people listening and ladies, just be more inquisitive. You know, if you ask how are you, and they say, yeah, I'm good. Ask them, what's good? How are you really? We need a few times. You know. We don't always like eye contact, so asking us questions deep in our eyes is not going to work often. With me, it's fine. Shoulder to shoulder, walk and talk. We love it. Tinkering with things, and then we're talking. Men love that. Side by side watching football, we can have a deep conversation. While we're training, I've had some of the deepest chats while I've just been training at the gym. Because we're doing something and we're almost distracted, but it still allows us to flow. But if we feel like we're being put on the spot, it can be quite challenging. Unless they come to my man cave, then I've conditioned them now, it's fine. But it's tough at the beginning. There's just a few things I can suggest. But meditation and journaling, I think, saved my life. You know? But when people hear meditation, especially some of the guys, they think, oh, I can't switch my mind off. So many myths around these things. There's so many myths around journaling. You know? Oh, I have to have a nice notebook. No. Oh, I have to write lots. No. Oh, it has to be in a particular way. No, it can be messy. It can't just be words. Meditation just has to be you sitting and breathing. That's it. You know, just be silent for 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. That's it. I think the work you're doing is fantastic, even for example, on this podcast, because we can remove the myth. We can shine light on that and actually make it real. You know, I think that's what is important for us to do. It's just make it real, make it practical. I see a lot of talk, and especially some of these wellness events that I know we've all been to. I just think they're rubbish sometimes. So much fluff. And I've been invited to do many talks at, say, companies and say, can you do a talk for men's mental health? I've stopped saying yes. Because it's a tick box exercise, and the men don't care. Give them a day off. How's that for mental health? Don't ask them to sit and waste their time for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, and going to hear me speak, when they'd rather just get on with their work, because now you've taken time out of their day. do something that actually help their mental health, or change the people at the top. People at the top are giving them so much work to do, so much stress, making them work God knows how many hours. If you want to help them, do something properly, you know. I have delivered man caves at organisations now. So I've gone in and said, I'm not doing a mental health talk, but I will go in for Men International Wednesday and give me all of your men, and I will lead a talk with them, with no women allowed. Give me pizzas, non-alcoholic beers. No, I said, and they did it, and they loved it. I did think at the beginning,
of course,
would the men open up, because it's corporate, and often we don't like to speak in front of our colleagues, but they did. And the amount of synergy between that, oh, I didn't know that about you. Oh, me too. As soon as you get a me too, that can save a life. A me too can save a life. And I've seen it happen in the man cave. When we have this system where when a man is sharing, everyone is silent, but you use hand signals like this is me too, this is send some love, and then whatever else you want to do. And when I've seen hands go up, and I've seen this man's face, like just think, wow. I thought it was just me. Wow. Because men don't talk.
Yeah.
This is profound. Yeah. When I'm listening to you, really, this is about what humanity is about. This platform is about shifting the narrative from hero to human, from being the raw, vulnerable person. It's a lot to take in. I'm having goosebumps actually listening to you, your mission, your vision, how you're showing up. This is what humanity is about. I'm going to say it again. It's human to human. It's not B2B, B2C. It's human to human. When someone asks me how I do business, how I sell my service, it's human to human. And I think there is more and more talks out there about human-oriented leadership, how we show up with empathy, and how we see the human in front of us. Yeah. So I know today we are talking about masculine and feminine energy. And when we had our session last year on Thriving Together, majority of my friends misunderstood. When I said that the session is going to be about masculine energy, immediately they said, oh, macho-like. Nothing to do with macho. Yeah. So in this platform, we also define. So we give a lot of definitions for people to understand basic. What is masculine energy? What is feminine energy? And how we can balance the two.
No, 100%. It is a difficult thing to define because sometimes I question everything. Sometimes I think, where do these definitions come from? Who decided what is masculine, who decided what's feminine? And but if I was to define it with some character traits of masculinity, it would be things around drive, groundedness, ambition, being centered, leadership. This doesn't mean man or woman. It's just masculine traits. Yes, no, assertive. Feminine is considered to be flow, creation, nurture. And even when you think of that, you already think of like this.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah. And so I like to, when I put the two together, I say, imagine a cup, the masculine, which is a container, and the feminine is water. And the masculine can be the container for the feminine. And so when there is the beautiful dance, the divine dance between the masculine and the feminine, it means that the feminine can be free to flow as freely as they want in the safety, in the safety of the masculine. So now if I'm thinking about husband and wife, and we do bring it back to genders, and if a man is more in his masculine, his wife is in her feminine, for her to be in that feminine where she can be in creation, nurture, flow, all of that good stuff, that she maybe feels more natural to be in that state. He needs to be dependable, reliable, secure, and safe to create that security for her to feel like she can just rest in her feminine, And the man loves it. Typically, when if they do like to flow heavily in man more masculine, women more feminine, then gender roles do apply sometimes. Sometimes.
I love how he made this analogy, and he made me actually imagine how it is like having the man as the container and the woman as the female as the flow. And for me, I suffer from actually letting my feminine energy flow because of the way I have kind of lived and the society that I lived in, the upbringing that I had to put on the masculine energy, and I've been on it forever. And I've been trying to find a balance where I flow, but I always feel like I'm losing control. And when I feel like I'm losing control, it means I have to go back and be that strong masculine person. And it's not healthy, I would say, because for being at the extreme of something is always not the right thing to do. But at least now I understand what I can do to actually move myself from that, which is loosen my control on the reins a little bit and just let the universe take its way of things. And I think it's important for me to actually do that, because while raising my son, I need him to see that mama actually needs help. So what I'm doing nowadays, for example, yesterday I was really exhausted, and I usually read him stories every night. But yesterday I wanted to show him that mama is not feeling okay and you have to take care of mama. And I literally just lay on his bed and I'm like, I cannot do anything now. He was squirming and mommy and da-da-da, but I held my ground a little bit because I wanted to be that girl, that woman, that mama who needs help. And he was understanding. He just sat there quietly and we fell asleep. And for me, that is one of the little things that I try to do so that I show him that, listen, even though mommy is like doing everything, but at the end of the day, she's a female and she's a human. And, you know, it helps build the character.
You mentioned going to strong masculine.
Yeah.
But how can you use your strong feminine to still do everything else that you need to do? Or maybe it's for delegation, you know, finding other ways to still use your strength as in your power as in the feminine, to not lose control. You know, maybe there are people that you've seen in your life that you think they're still feminine, but they still manage to do all of this, and you know, even if they are single moms, for example, maybe they're still away. But I love what you're doing. That's teasing that and getting him to almost step into his power, so that you can rest in that. I think that's really nice. You know, another way then, so it's not just about relationships at work, it's also the couples, and it can also be relationships at work. How is someone that works, say, at Google or any company, meant to be creative if the structure and safety isn't there? It's the same thing, you know. So we can apply this everywhere. So even when we want to be, if I want to be feminine, I've got to make sure certain things are done. I somehow created a business when I had so much uncertainty. But imagine what I could have created if I had the safety and security. You know, the fact that I have a home now, that's something where I can say, right, I wonder what I'm going to create from here. And sometimes, yes, we do have to create the safety and security for ourselves. But like you said as well, at some point we have to let go and say, right, this is done. I need to free fall for a little bit and just allow myself to be in that space and see and just trust.
I love it. I love, Nina, how you're embracing your feminine energy in private life situations and at work as well. And I already told you, Adil, how you inspired me with our initial conversation and how I was really inclined to understand more. What is the feminine? What is the masculine? To the point that now I am working on workshops on feminine energy for leaders. But going back to my NHS days, I was, I would say, 100% masculine. I was the hardcore leader, running around, delivering KPIs, everything is on time, and I was proud. I was the hero, the superhero that we are now breaking the narrative from. And then I remember having come across leaders who definitely were in feminine a lot. There was my unit manager, Amanda, and I remember a lot of us, me and my colleagues, were running around, so we are the masculine, and she's always calm. She's always nurturing. Magda, how are you? Can you come to my office? I was like, I cannot stop even for 1 minute to come and have a tea. Why is she asking me how are you if there is a disaster going on in the unit? But it started bothering me to the point that I understood that the feminine may be vulnerable, can also be successful. She was getting the results. She is very successful. I know for sure now because I followed her journey and she is in a very high position. But she was able to nurture the real feminine in herself. She is a mother. She is like very well regarded leader. And it's like, thank you to myself that I was curious, why is this bothering me? So I was able to shift from the masculine, not actually shift, to start to balance. Because when I understood that masculine, yes, leadership, making decisions, strategic, but then feminine for me is nurturing, is creating space. So now we're talking about creating environments at work when everyone thrives. I need to create a space, right? I need to nurture my people. How do I do it? I show empathy, and first I notice the human in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't look through ranks or labels. I see Adil as a human, and this is how we connect, and this is how we produce a beautiful change in our environment.
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. It's integration of both energies. They're both so powerful. And clearly you understood as well how you can bring that feminine to be also very powerful. You know? But I do see it. I see it a lot. There's a lot of women that I also coach who struggle in relationships, for example, or dating now. Maybe they're in their 30s and they're struggling in the dating pool, becoming quite challenging, but they found themselves very heavily in their masculine. Because they think they can't rely on anyone, so they have to rely on themselves. And now they don't want anyone to come in and disturb their peace. Their standard is up here, which is great. I love high standard. Yeah, listen, it's great to have high standards, but
Like, guilty as charged.
at some point you have to learn to let go.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to encourage them and how to get into their feminine. And yes, it might not be with some stranger that you met on Bumble or Tinder. It might be with your male friends. You know, it might be at work and just letting things be dealt with by other people. It might be going to like dance classes or going to do things that are creative. It sounds really cheesy to even say things like taking a bath or or pampering yourself, but these things put you in that place where you're taken care of. You know, and then I'm helping them in real time. Like, what he just said this. What do I say? I'm like, what does this mean? And often I will tell them things like, this guy is a waste of time. You know, I've been the guy that's been a waste of time. I've been the narcissist. I've been the cheater. I've also been that person. So I can see it from a mile away, or I can offer insight will allow them to ask the right questions that may enable them to make better decisions, or not block them on the first date, which I've also seen. You know, but again, it just going back to that point, it just goes into a place where we are encouraged. Men are more in their feminine than ever, and women are more in their masculine than ever. And that is creating a really strange dynamic in the world. Men don't feel needed, and women feel they don't need men.
Wow.
So what kind of childless future are we walking into? You know? So that's also why I'm passionate about this. I want to help men step into their masculine because I know that they feel more confident when they are. You know? A lot of men will come to me and say they don't feel confident. Or I can't get dates. I'm saying, well, why don't we sort out the situation with your physique, first of all? It sounds maybe mean, but I know that if they lost a few pounds, they'd feel good about themselves.
True.
Not only because they look better in their clothes, but because they woke up to maybe start a new routine or start a new habit, which means they've developed now self-esteem because they have esteem of their self by doing things repetitively over time. Confidence isn't just how you like that. Confidence comes from doing things repetitively until you gain competence. And by negating yourself and not being a man of your word to you, which means you don't have integrity, how is anyone else going to trust you? You know, if you don't trust yourself. So the core pillar, you mentioned authenticity earlier, the core pillar of brotherhood, UAE, and also what I stand for is being a man of integrity. And then the rest will work. You will invite the right behaviors, you'll show up in the right way, you will attract people into your life, you won't stand for things that don't work for you or that you don't resonate with, you will be able to stand in your power. Then you feel confident. You know? And if you feel that there's a gap between where you are now and where you want to be, then close the gap. If you struggle to have conversations with women, practice. Or go learn some things. Read books more. Like, become an expert on something. Well, I don't know, learn. A lot of the guys I'm working with now, they're going to improv and doing comedy stuff, and that's amazing. You got something to talk about. Some guys have nothing to talk about. They're boring. I'll tell them it's boring. You know? I'm very blunt, even in my coaching style. I'm the most unorthodox coach. I tell people, if you want to hear the truth, you come to me. If you want me to fluff, I can't do it. I feel like you're probably the same. But it works. I had one guy tell me that he struggled to get second dates. He came to the man cave, and he really smelled. And I told him, I was like, bro, your hygiene is terrible. I don't want to be around you right now. Like, this is not okay. He goes, oh, I had to walk from, I get it. But that isn't from you walking. Take care of yourself.
Yep.
Just take care of yourself. It's great that you're getting first dates. It's great that you're making a bit of money. But you can have all the money in the world. But if you smell like that, no one's going to want to be around you.
True.
You know? So when I think about masculinity and integrity and all these kind of things, I think it's a full picture. I don't believe in alpha male, sigma male, beta. I don't believe in this stuff. Just be a good man. Take care of yourself. You know what's right from wrong. At least I hope so. And if not, you work it out over time. But this work is so interesting because the more I get into it, the more I think it's actually quite simple. But the hard part is doing the hard work. And there's so much hard work, and you guys will know what it takes. You're trying to be more in your feminine. It's hard because you're used to being a certain way. You know, and like you said, you're afraid to let go of the reins. The men are afraid to do something new. Even coming to the man cave is new for them. I rate them highly when any man comes to man cave for the first time because they have no idea what they're walking into. It could be a cult. It could be some weird thing that they come into. They don't even know, but they come and when they get there, they're like, wow. This is incredible. But it's the follow through. And I admit, some days I struggle to get out of bed in the morning to go to the gym, but I know that if I don't, I'm going to feel worse later. You know? And I was that guy. I didn't take care of my personal health, my hygiene. I didn't take care of, I guess, my morals. Luckily, I was a prolific cheater throughout all of my 20s. Luckily, I did have friends that would say to me, like, Adil, what are you doing? I wouldn't listen to them, but I did it anyway. It's important to have people around you that will hold you accountable, but that change is hard. You know? Everything in divine timing. Everything will happen the way it's supposed to happen. But if you can see it ahead of time, you will take the step. You know, they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you can lead the horse to water. And that's what we're doing with this podcast as well. It doesn't mean that they're going to take any particular action, but there might be some kind of seed that is sown today. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? I've had people message me 3-4 years later saying, I've been following you from day one. You said something to me, or you said something on that one reel, God knows how many years ago, and it stuck with me. You never know. And the other thing I would like to find out before I finish, thank you for having me on this podcast, by the way.
You're welcome.
Is legacy and impact. Someone is always looking at us, whether we know it or not. We are someone's role model. You know? And that needs to be enough of a reason for us to sort our stuff out. Fix up. We don't know who's watching. I mean, you've definitely got some young man watching you, so you know.
I have to.
So, Adil, what do you think a man's need to take an action?
Something that resonates with me is, this might sound really weird, but pain and suffering. I feel like when a man stays too far and is too much in his comfort zone, he won't make any change. He can stay in that comfort zone even if that comfort is uncomfortable or painful. But it's not painful enough because the pain of change is actually more painful. The pain of the unknown. And I've been through many of these cycles since I've been in Dubai. Dubai's been, and I think is for most people, a place that will chew you up and spit you out and show you who you are. It showed me who I am. I would not have become this man had I not been in Dubai. I don't even think this would really have taken off in the UK. I wouldn't even know where to start. But I'm reminded of a framework called the Hero's Journey, which is relevant to the podcast name and what you guys stand for. The Hero's Journey is typically used as a framework for, say, films. Have you seen Lord of the Rings? Right. The Hero's Journey looks like this. The call to action. Well, no, so the normal life. Frodo, he's just chilling. He's having a good time. Suddenly, he's been told by some guy that you got to go on this journey and go deliver this ring to a fire and overcome some things. He's thinking, no, I'm not doing that. So he's faced with a problem and some kind of call to action to go on a quest. And if you bring that to real life, this quest is pain, change, new job, whatever, you just fill in the gap. New relationship, maybe a divorce, maybe something bad is happening, but it's change. That's the first part. Then there's the resistance. No, I'm not going to go. I'm good. Thank you, Gandalf. I don't want to go. And then something would happen. He's sitting there, and if you even think about Matrix, Neo is forced to just make a choice. In the beginning, he doesn't make that choice. He said no. He runs away from it. Same thing with Frodo. Then suddenly he says no. Okay, I'm going to take that leap of faith. And then there's a whole montage of taking that leap of faith, learning a few things, falling down, getting beaten by the villain, whatever it might be. And I've gone through many downs and hit the floor. And then there's another montage where you learn something, where there's some guy or woman or something comes to you and says, this is what you need. And it might be from here, it might be from here, it might be from God, it might be from someone. And something that unlocks. And you go back to that battle and you win. And you overcome and you walk into the fire, you throw the ring, some big ass things come along and lift you out of the off the mountain and takes you back home to the Shire. Yeah, and you've learned, that's it. You've become someone, you've overcome, and that is you as the hero, the protagonist. And I use that framework to remind myself that if I'm going through a hard time, which part on that hero's journey is next? What do I need to look out for? Is it the wise person or thing or whatever it might be? You know, and just knowing that even when I'm at the peak, something's coming. It's okay. It's a circle of life. It's going to always come. But that framework really helps me just to think about, if I'm going through a hard time, this is what comes next. We need a little bit of pain. We need to find out who we are. That's why even as basic as we go to the gym, we put ourselves through strain. We have to maybe get up at crazy time. We do things that we don't even want to do. I don't want to always go and bust myself in the morning and suffer and sweat, but when I finish, oof, I feel good.
The feeling.
I feel so good. So I think we need to be faced with adversity. You know, that's why even sitting in an ice bath is something important. If we're not facing anything right now, go and look for it. Controlled adversity. Go and find something uncomfortable to do. You know, a lot of people do it. You think, why are you doing this crazy thing? Why are you doing this marathon? Why are you doing this Ironman? Why are you doing this ice bath? Because we enjoy adversity. Because we know that it makes us stronger. And so that we can overcome things as and when they come up. So that's what I think we need to take action, is uncomfortable situations that sometimes we're forced into. Yeah.
Wow. Beautifully said, to be honest. And this reminds me of some of the statistics I've read in some of the research, in that there was a research done by Cleveland Clinic where they found that 45% of men think that they have excellent lifestyles and they're good, but they don't focus on their mental health. And 65% of those men, they disregard mental health, and they don't think that it's important. And when you think about that, there is the tendency of not actually taking care of the self and taking care of that hero narrative that you're talking about, and disregarding the self. And this leads to a huge percentage, 60% of men who actually committed suicide have not actually sought help. And have they actually did, they may have been saved from this. And because it's seen as a form of weakness, going and saying, I'm not okay, right? It takes a lot of courage for men to go and say they're not okay. And you have actually seen that over and over and over again before in your brotherhood. And for me, this is something that I think as nationwide, we should find ways to promote safe spaces for men to actually come and just vent out. And I'm so grateful that Adil, you have started Brotherhood UAE. From my side, I will promote it with everyone I know. And maybe you should do a female version just once in a while and see what.
Do a female version.
We will do the female version. Actually, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's do the female version. And because it does help. Like I would say from at work, I have a lot of my charge nurses, male charge nurses. And sometimes I can feel their energy that they are so drained. So what I do, I bring them to my office, I close the door and I sit them down. I just sit quietly and I tell them, this is a safe space. And to my surprise, they open up. And to my surprise, they shed tears. And to my surprise, they become vulnerable. And they leave feeling much better, feeling lighter. And for me, this is like the greatest achievement at work, to be able to to help someone come out of that gloom, of that cloud, and to actually realize that there's someone out there that can actually help you. And then I watch the performance. Oh my God, for me, it's so thrilling. It's like the cherry on top. Yeah.
It's good to talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's, being able to hold a safe space is a super skill.
Yeah.
It's a super skill.
Yeah.
If we talk about superhero on this platform and you want to be the good superhero, please learn the skill to holding a space for someone who is not okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a mental health first aider, a nurse or a doctor. It's just to create that space for that person. It doesn't even need to require talking, right? You just sit with someone side to side in silence,
Yeah.
and it helps. And what I hear in here, a lot of stories, right? Everyone has a story. Whether you have a formal platform or you don't have a formal platform, you have a story.
Yes.
If you have the courage and you are able to share, please share it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to share it, hold that space for someone else. This is how we can create that positive change in our communities. This is what From Hero to Human is about. And if you like this platform, you like the talk, you like our guests, you like the learnings, please subscribe and please share it with others. Because if we can just inspire that one person to take an action, we can really create that positive change in our environments. So thank you for your support. And thank you, Adil.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I love being by your side and going through this journey and having this amazing man. To be honest, I want, this is kind of the benchmark of the the kind of guy that he'll calm, knows that there was mistakes, there was pain, but has actually used that to be a powerhouse for other men.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.